Can I ask you a question? How many times have you promised yourself, this is going to be my year? You bought the planner, downloaded the productivity app, you saved motivational quotes, you watched all the videos. Maybe you even made a vision board. Raise your hand. And yet, somehow you still ended up in the exact same place. Not because you aren't smart, not because you aren't capable, and definitely not because you don't want it badly enough. Am I right? I actually think most of us don't have a motivational problem. I think we have an alignment problem. And once we understand the difference, we'll stop blaming ourselves and start asking much better questions. So today, I want to walk you through the 3 fundamental reasons people continually fall short on their goals. Because once you recognize which one is holding you back, you'll never look at goal setting the same way again. If we're meeting for the first time, hey girl, welcome. I'm Andrea Patrick, and I help ambitious women like you create alignment between who they are, who they lead, and the life they're trying to build. Because success isn't just about working harder, it's about becoming someone who naturally does what their future requires. And if you've ever felt like you're constantly starting over, constantly getting excited, constantly buying another planner, this conversation is for you. So let's get into it. Reason number 1 is you have an identity problem. Now, before you click away and get all excited, I'm not talking about your personality, okay? I'm talking about your relationship with yourself. Here's what I see all the time. People know what they want, okay? But they've never stopped long enough to figure out who they actually are. And they've built a life around expectations instead of intentions. Now, they know everyone else's needs. They know everyone else's opinions, everyone else's expectations. But if you ask them, what kind of woman are you becoming? Silence. Crickets. Because contemplation feels unproductive. But here's the irony. Research consistently shows that self-reflection improves learning, decision-making, emotional regulation, and performance, while people who regularly engage in reflective practices demonstrate greater personal growth and adaptability than those who simply stay busy. Busyness creates movement, yes, but contemplation creates the direction of that movement. Those are not the same thing. You can't build a meaningful life from anyone else's blueprint. You have to understand what matters to you, what energizes you, what drains you, what value actually guides your decisions. What kind of life do you genuinely want? Because if you don't answer those questions, your calendar will, your boss will, your family will, social media will, everyone else will happily decide your priorities for you. And then you'll wonder why your goals never seem to stick. It's because your identity isn't supporting them. Reason number 2, you have a clarity problem. Once identity is established, most people immediately jump into setting those goals. They completely skip something incredibly important, the framework. Think about it. Every successful organization you've ever admired, they have systems, mission statements, core values, operating principles, decision-making processes. Why? Well, let me tell you. Because clarity eliminates unnecessary decisions. Yet somehow, we expect ourselves to navigate life without any of that. We just wake up every single day hoping we'll make good choices. According to research by psychologist Dr. Gail Matthews, people who write down clearly defined goals are significantly more likely to achieve them than those who simply think about them. But I think the conversation needs to go one step further, okay? Goals without a framework still create confusion. Because what happens when two opportunities both look good? What happens when you're tired? What happens when fear shows up? What happens when success requires you to say no? If you don't have a framework to handle these situations, every decision is going to become emotional. Every opportunity is going to be tempting to you. Every distraction looks important, and every setback feels personal. Clarity isn't not knowing what you want. It's knowing how you make decisions when life gets complicated. Reason number 3, you have an alignment problem. This, my friend, is where almost everybody struggles, because this is where execution lives. And execution isn't about willpower. It's about systems. So here's what I mean. Most people wake up every morning hoping they'll make the right decisions, right? You do it, I do it, okay. But hope is not a system. Let's look at what alignment actually requires. Your brain is running old programming. Your reticular activating system, or RAS, is constantly filtering information based on what is already believed in your mind is important. So if you spent years telling yourself, I'm inconsistent, I never finish, I am terrible with money, I always procrastinate, your brain starts looking for evidence that those statements are true. You aren't just hearing the tape, you're living it. The story becomes your identity, and your identity is what drives your behavior. You don't have boundaries. Everything feels urgent. Everyone gets access to your time. Your priorities become negotiable. And then you're surprised when your goals never get reached. They never receive the best energy. Your end game is too vague. I want to be happy. I want to lose weight. I want to build a business. Compared to what? By when? Why? How will you know you've arrived? Your brain can't organize around ambiguity. It craves specificity. You haven't learned self-regulation. Discipline isn't about punishment. It's about emotional management, because your goals don't disappear when you feel discouraged. You still have them. Only your willingness to pursue them changes. Research in psychology has repeatedly found that self-regulation, or the ability to manage emotions, thoughts, and behavior, is one of the strongest predictors of long-term achievement across education, health, and career outcomes. You don't know how to say no. That's another issue. Every yes costs something. Usually time, but sometimes peace, but more often than not, your future. If you say yes to everything, you're automatically saying no to becoming the person you really want to be. You don't want that. You also don't manage your time intentionally. Most people manage their calendar around obligations, and very few manage it around their identity. And those are two completely different approaches to your calendar. You don't have posture protocols. That's another issue. This is something that I talk about a lot, because life is going to happen, guys. You're going to have bad mornings. There are going to be those unexpected phone calls, conflicts, disappointments. The stress is going to creep in. But the question isn't whether those things happen. The question is, what do you do next? If your emotional state determines your productivity, honey, your goals will always feel fragile, because we're going to be emotional. You don't stack your habits. Here's another reason. Researchers at University College London found that habits become more automatic through consistent repetition in stable contexts, not through motivation alone. Successful people don't rely on remembering. They rely on routines. One habit supports another. One action cues the next. Everything works together. This is called alignment. Now, what is the big picture? I just gave you all of these things. Here's what I want you to hear today. You aren't failing because you're lazy. You aren't failing because you don't care. Heck, you aren't even failing because success is reserved for somebody else. You're falling short because the version of you trying to reach those goals hasn't yet developed the systems that make those goals sustainable. And here's the truth most productivity videos will never tell you. You don't need another planner filled with blank pages. You need a practice, a way of becoming, a process that helps you build the woman capable of living the life you're dreaming about. Because the goal was never simply to accomplish more. The goal has always been to become more. See the difference? So, this is exactly why I've created the Becoming Practice Planner. And this is not just another planner you'll abandon by February. It's a guided practice designed to help ambitious people like you and me align their identity, their habits, their decisions, and their daily actions with the future they're trying to create. Now, if this video felt like I was describing your life, I want you to join the waitlist because this book, this planner, this practice is going to launch, and the women on the list will be the first to experience what it means to stop chasing goals and start becoming the woman those goals require. Now, I'm going to leave the link down below, and if this conversation challenged the way you've been thinking about success, hit that subscribe button, please, because every week we talk about self-awareness, leadership, emotional intelligence, personal growth, productivity, mindset, and building a life that actually feels aligned. So until next time, my dear, keep becoming. See you next week. Bye.